Good evening, everyone. Hope all is well. Once again, welcome to Message from the Streets, just a point of view. Got an interesting topic, possibly a controversial topic. And the topic is dealing with the Republican Party and their relationship with racism. Just recently, there was an issue that came up about the three-fifths decree that was saying that so-called blacks or the slaves can be counted as three-fifths of a person. And there's a gentleman down in Tennessee. His name is Justin Laverty, and he defended that three-fifths of a man ruling, when it's been attached to the former slaves or the slaves at that time, and tried to say that that issue came up and it was in regards to ending slavery, a flat out lie. Then we have another congressman up in Colorado, Mr. Hanks, what's his name? Ron Hanks. And he was also trying to justify or manipulate the minds of individuals, especially within the Republican Party, and possibly people that was on the outside looking in that are actually supporters of white nationalism and the justification of the cruelty that the so-called blacks has suffered under the governorship of European, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon Americans here in the wilderness of North America. Now, I'm going to give you some information. I'm not going to keep you very long because this topic, it can become, emotional situation, and I'm not trying to go there yet. To the core of the issue, the relationship with the Republican Party and racism. First of all, today's Republican Party are the 50s and the 60s Dixiecrats. That's right. Today's Republican Party is a rendition of the Dixiecrats that were forcefully opposing equal rights for so-called blacks, was forcefully attacking and using violence against so-called blacks. The Dixiecrats were the face of segregationists. And the segregationists, they wanted separation. They never felt that so-called blacks were equivalent to European, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxons, Americans that had colonized these United States that we identify them as today, and also committed a massacre against the Aboriginals, so-called Indians, which were natives here that the European Caucasians mistakenly identified them as such because Columbus, as it has been recorded, though he had landed in India, and that's how the natives got that name. But to go right on into it, we can see the connection of racism. We can see the residue of racism. And a lot of people that I know that are from the Caucasian race or nationality, they can't see it. They can't see why so-called blacks are in opposition of the Republican Party. And before I go on, the Democratic Party most definitely had their flaws and their inconsistencies with certain issues dealing with morals and some of the things that they're going at. Yet, so-called blacks are more comfortable with the Democrats, regardless of what the Republicans represent in degrees, because they do have some good ideas or some ways to sustaining, society. But on the other hand, the racism that is entrenched, that is rooted, that has a hold on the Republican Party, so-called blacks with a mind to think and the mind to reason would never possibly make an alliance with them. Because at the end of the day, once you make the alliance with the party and its principles, you have made yourself in alliance with segregationists, racists, white nationalists, the Ku Klux Klan, and that's a fact. And nobody with any common sense can deny it. I was talking to one of my friends, my associates, a colleague, Conrad, that is of the European nationality or race or the Caucasian race. And I was telling him that, that there are no racist known groups that are part of the Democratic Party. And again, I'm not saying that the Democrats are any better than the Republicans, because I know that they are different wings of the same bird. You know, they just go about their destination in a different type of way. One going up and the other one going down, but the destination is the same when it's dealing with these politics, these politics, and these hypocrites. You know, the one thing that I have come to the conclusion is, if you are 60 years old, maybe even in your mid 50s, and you are in the Republican Party, there's a good possibility that you're a racist and that you don't even know you're a racist. If you're 55 to 60 to 70 years old and you're a so-called white American, you possibly could be a racist. And even though you have told yourself that you wasn't, but when certain issues come up and you take a certain stance that polarize against justice and equality and freedom for so-called African Americans, the former slaves of your forefather, that is a racism that has been planted in your subconscious, and something that you have came through and probably was a part of, but you separated yourself with it because you got knowledge, you got educated, and you found out that that wasn't correct. And that's to go to another point. This guy up in Colorado, they saying that they want to alleviate or lessen the funds to any institution that is teaching a reality about slavery and the racial relationships that has taken place in America. And that's America's problem. You want to continue to hide the truth. You want to continue to cover it up and manipulate it instead of addressing it and acknowledging the responsibility for it. It's just like in any system. For you to go forward, you have to acknowledge your shortcomings and your failures in a sense, or your incorrect operations and activities, so you can grow. But we got people in the Republican Party that refuse to acknowledge the truth about what's happening and going on in America. And the Republican Party, the conservatives, you are being devils, and you are the main force that is holding back the advancements of this culture. And I'm not saying that the things that you stand for and you represent that make sense is a part of that, but there's a part of what the Republican Party stands for and is supporting, directly or indirectly, that is a nefarious act against so-called blacks and other so-called minorities here in the United States. We are in the midst of devils on Capitol Hill, in the midst of devils in the capitals around the country, the government bodies. And that guy, Laverty from Tennessee, most definitely that he is the son of Confederates. He is the son of those that had staged a coup, an insurrection against the United States, just like what happened there on January the 6th, 2021. And ladies and gentlemen, until this situation is addressed properly and things made right, the United States is on a destiny to hell. And I ain't talking about the hell they talking about down there with no devil. I'm talking about this place is going to be upside down, turned out, and chaos is going to be the norm of the day because of all the lies that these individuals, these white supremacists, this Mitch McConnell and all these other guys, Graham and so forth and so on, and Green and all these people are actually sick. These people have been indoctrinated, and they don't know if they coming or going, because the indoctrination that they are under is a program. They have been programmed with this perspective, and that's why they move the way they move. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in today. And again, just be truthful to yourself. Look at what the Republican Party stands for and how that they are operating when it comes to certain issues. And again, I'm not saying all issues, but certain issues when it's dealing with so-called blacks, they are always in opposition of it. Mitch McConnell said that just the other day that whatever Biden is doing, he's going to stop it. He's in opposition of it. He didn't say if it's right or correct or incorrect. He said whatever it is, he's going to stop it. Talking about that he's going to stop Biden for the direction that he's going. Me, myself, I know that Biden is going in the direction that has been assigned to him to drive this train to hell, regardless which way he's going. And Mitch is doing the old devil's advocate thing. They all together, ladies and gentlemen. They families, they friends. They fake like they enemies to pull the covers over the eyes of the people. Before I go real quick, only thing we got to do is think real quick about the history of European Caucasians before they came to the shores of America. And I'm not talking about the ones that have been educated and now resist some of the ways of their forefathers. But when you look back in those European countries, we had the king, the queen, the people that were, in close quarters with them, their guards and things of that nature. Then you got the peasants. It's the same system that's going on today, but we have different names for the president. Then we got the middle class and the lower class. Yeah, peasants. We got the people out here suffering, and they still living off the hog, making over $150,000 a year, some $200,000, so forth and so on. But we okay with that because the teachers teach that none of this will be going on unless we was in agreement with it. So we getting what we collectively have agreed with. Only thing I'm saying is that, hey man, we got to wake up, do our homework, question these situations, and stop, following the herd. Like they talking about this herd immunity. Go ahead, you can be with the herd. I ain't going with the herd. Y'all, I can think for myself. I got a brain. See what I'm saying? I have a reason in mind. I seek out information and knowledge, which you should do too. Ladies and gentlemen, calm down. I bring you this message in love. I leave you this message in peace. Man, seek out truth and the higher ways of life to free yourself from the institutionalized mindset of this culture of insanity that is gone wild, haywire here in the United States. Peace, love, and grace to all humanity. I pray that the people wake up. I pray that there be an adjustment before things come to a head. Peace.